Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining this afternoon's Change Management Training Information session. My name is Monica Moretta, and I am a program coordinator with McMaster Continuing Education, and I am very pleased to co-host today's session. I would like to welcome Mariner Innovations' David Burnett, Senior Change Consultant and Practice Management, and Brenda Page, Instructor, Senior Consultant, Change Management. Before we start, I would like to acknowledge and recognize that McMaster Continuing Education is located on the traditional territories of the Mississauga and Haudenosaunee nations and within the lands protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. David, I'll hand it over to you.
Terrific. Thank you very much, Monica. It's our pleasure to be partnering with the McMaster Continuing Education team today, and we thank them for their partnership. And we thank each of you as registrants that have shown up today, and we'll make sure that we're going to try and cover the information in a fairly concise way, but hit on the urgent points and leave lots of room for questions so that people can feel comfortable that they had a chance to get their questions answered, and that we didn't get down too much of a path that was not of value. So thank you again. My name is David Burnett. I'm pleased to be with Mariner, and we have a change management practice that I'll get into in just a moment, and I'll touch on very brief highlights just to give you some context. But in essence, what we want to focus on today is give you the basics about what is change management at a high level. Talk about our practice a little, but really focus more on the courses. What can you expect from them? Who would benefit from them? And of course, address any questions. So that's where our real focus will be. But thank you again for attending today. And we'll jump right in. All right. So we always have to start with the formal definition. And I assure you there'll be a follow-up definition as well. But change management is essentially the practice of applying a structured approach to the transition of an organization from a current state to a future state to achieve expected benefits. So that's the formal one through the Association of Change Management Professionals. And that they're a global organization that oversees change management across the globe, of course, and really has provided great structure and approaches and tools, research, and real support for the change management function. What we'd like to do in a session like this is now talk a little bit more, have some fun with it, talk a little bit more specifically about change and what it is and where we go from there. So essentially, organizations are going through huge changes. They have been for years, but it's really picking up the pace now. You hear that word change everywhere. And what we've done, or what we do in the area of change management, is whether an organization has 5 people, 500, 5,000, or 50,000, they're going through major changes right now. And the role of change management is an essential role in helping leaders put the proper approaches in place to drive change in their organization, but also to help the teams implementing, the project teams, and the people impacted by the change. So that's such a critical piece, as you so often would know on large projects or large transformations. There's always a project management piece, and people are very comfortable with that, where it's about dates and deliverables and deadlines and trying to get, perhaps it's technology implemented or whatever that change is, they're trying to get that in on time and on budget. That's an essential component, but the change management piece brings that people side to it. So then that we've got it humanizes this change process. And when we do that, we greatly improve the chances of change being successful, the change being adopted, and living in the organization, becoming the new way of working. So I just want to talk a little bit about a couple of examples of what that might look like. So in today's times, there's the changes some of us are very familiar with that may have been brought in, say, through COVID. So if you think of a big box store, and they're serving their clients and our customers are coming in every day, and then all of a sudden there's restrictions and they can't let people in the store anymore. So they need to have the technologies, the processes, the support approach that they can support their customers, still sell product, still provide services, but all of a sudden you're not allowed in the front door. So major changes were required. Some organizations were already well suited, some were not, to make the changes so they have the right technology, the right processes, and the right support so that they can continue to serve their customers. in other ways. Some organizations have outdated technology. Maybe they're moving to cloud-based and something that's more modern, or like if you've ever heard of an ERP or an enterprise resource planning system, one where you take all these systems that have been created over the years and now you replace them with one system that is integrated across the organization. That's an example of the type of change that often occurs in organizations. The last one I would share is, in this impacts all of us, is think about in healthcare, for example, where moving to self-serve, a lot more online focus. So for organizations, for governments, to be able to serve the public, to do it in a timely way, in an accurate way, they need to upgrade their systems, their approaches. Even culture in organizations has to update in order to serve clients in a new way. So those are just some of the examples of what changes are typically happening in organizations out there. Certainly by no means all of them, but those are some frequent ones. And having a change management approach, a structured approach to the human side of that change, ensures greater adoption, greater usage, wiser spend of money, happier customers, that type of thing. So that's the importance of change management, where it comes in. So just talk very briefly, our practice, the change management practice that Mariner has, we have about 25 consultants now. We focus on 3 critical areas. So we provide project resources. So for organizations going through change and saying, hey, we need help, we've got a big project, we really need some quality certified people to come in, we can provide resources to do that. For others, it's more about advisory. So we come in and advise and help them figure out how to plan this change and how to put the right plans, effective tools, effective processes in place so that the company can go through those changes in a more in a faster way, in a more productive way that really touches on the people side of that change. We also have, which we're hearing about today, is more around the change capability. So helping people grow their change skills and having some training options. We have 2 core courses. My colleague Brenda Page will take you through the details of them in just a moment. And typically they focus on, we focus on the fundamentals of change management and accelerating change through leadership. And you'll hear more on those today. But that's the core of our change management practice and the basis for the information we're going to share with you today. I'm just going to ask Brenda now to step in and give you a little bit more information about the specific courses.
So thank you, David. Just to elaborate, David had mentioned the ACMP, Association of Change Management Professionals. That organization was established back in 2009. And what they've done is they've created a global standard sort of for change management approaches and methodology. And our program, our Mariner, both of our Mariner programs and courses that we offer are fully aligned sort of with that standard. Just as, you know, organizations that might use Cotter or ProSite, they're all aligned to that as well. The only difference is each organization, you know, creates their own terminology and language and whatnot, and focus on certain areas, perhaps a little bit more than others, but that we're all aligned to this Association of Change Management Professionals. The other thing to recognize is both of our courses are QEP certified. So we are a qualified educational provider with the Association of Change Management Professionals. So with either course you take, you will get a badge showing that accreditation as well. And you can utilize that either towards change management, your own change management certifications, or if you're a project manager or business analyst or HR professional or whatever sort of your field. Quite often, some, if not all the hours for the PDU's professional development units can be utilized for your certification quite often as well. The other little note just to make, most of our practitioners within Mariner, quite a few of them are certified with the ACMP, and they have their CCMP, which is their Certified Change Management Professional Certifications. And I am as well. So the 2 programs that David had mentioned that we are offering with McMaster are the Fundamentals of Change Management, which is a 3-day course, and Accelerating Change Through Leadership, which is a 1-day course. So let's dive a little bit deeper into each. So the fundamentals of change management, in that program, we focus on change, just like David sort of had, alluded to all the different types of changes out there. Some are formal official projects with a project manager and all those things. And other types of changes in organizations, could be minor changes, whether it's just a small process that's changing, or an office move, or it could be a full-blown transformational change as well. So our principles, the fundamentals of change management, applies to any and all types of changes within an organization. The areas that you're going to focus in on here, that you're going to learn a little bit more about in this 3-day course, are areas around the key change management concepts and the different processes and how to engage different impacted, stakeholder groups or groups of people that are going to be impacted. Because as we all know, depending on the change that's occurring, one group of people within, the organization, one department or division might be impacted slightly differently from a different division, and they might have different profiles and different needs. So those are the things that from a change manager, we would do sort of initial assessments and analyze that data. And then from there, make an informed sort of approach or strategy on how to address the changes for different groups of people. And from that, we would create our change plans. The other area we focus on are roles and responsibilities. And in this, what we mean by the different roles and responsibilities, it would be if you had a change manager on this initiative, their role and responsibility, the actual sponsor, sort of the executive or whoever it might be sort of overseeing this change initiative, we would look at their roles. The business owner, in other words, the person that would be owning and administrating and leading this after go live, after the change occurs, any project team members like a project manager and BA. So we would touch upon sort of each one of those different types of leadership sort of roles. And in the leadership sort of program, the 1-day leadership, we do a deeper dive into the sponsor roles and the business owner roles, as well as divisional leadership roles. Then we would also get into how to create a change strategy and change plans, on recognizing sort of, again, that there's no two initiatives that are the same. It's not a one size fits all when it comes to change management. So we would look at sort of the different, how to really customize the plans and the approaches for different change initiatives. The other focus that we have in the fundamentals is, we do breakout activities as well with different teams. So the purpose of that is really to help you sort of grow in your learning, not just from the instructors, but also from your peers as well. And they are used to really help you take your learning and really immediately figure out sort of how can I actually apply this in the real life. So this way, once you return to your roles, you'll have a much more sort of tangible understanding of not just theory, but also the application sort of for the learning. So this is basically going to include as well a focus on proactive and reactive resistance management tactics and approaches. The change strategy also utilizes critical information to its for the different assessments to reveal sort of, best ways to customize your strategies and your plans. And we're also, the other thing that we focus on is your role sort of as a risk manager. So anyone that's leading sort of change, really in many situations, you're managing the people risk side of change and really recognizing sort of the needs of the individuals that are experiencing the change. We'll also focus on the benefits and the ROI, which is so critical sort of for any particular change, that return on investment and the benefits. If you're going through change and at the end of the day, people are not adopting the change, really, what was the point sort of going through all this, major transition? So the focus really is not that an initiative is on time and on budget per se, but also that we're actually achieving adoption and that benefits realization at the end. So we need to sustain that change in order for that to happen. So we'll focus on all of those components. So to give you an idea as well of the different types of people that have taken this training, we've been delivering this for a few years now. And we have found sort of the types of participants that attend this training are very diverse. Everywhere from senior executives to managers, frontline leaders, as well as individuals, in human resources, IT, finance, and the obvious ones as well, from change managers and project managers and business analysts, communications individuals, and training and development individuals. The one thing that we found as well is, people, for example, in human resources might think, well, I don't know anything about change management, but actuality is quite often people are actually doing change management without even realizing it. They're just kind of doing it on the side of their desk. And quite often it's very intuitive, where you're recognizing sort of people's needs or the gaps and, the current state and that future state that we're working towards sort of in this change. So quite often also validates for a lot of people, that you're already doing some level of change management. The other thing that's really important sort of to recognize with both of these programs is LinkedIn has stated that the most desired skill going forward, particularly since this whole lovely pandemic, is that organizations are recruiting for adaptability. And this program really focuses on, what is it from a change readiness and people supporting sort of and creating that adaptability in organizations so that organizations can really become change able. And there's no bigger time than now in recognizing the speed of change just seems to keep happening faster and faster. So the Fundamentals is a virtually led and structured program. So it is on Zoom, and it's a 3-day full day sessions. And at the end of this program, you'll receive 21 PDUs, professional development units, towards your certification. And again, really highlighting that this program is fully aligned with the ACNP standard for change management. So some of the upcoming courses that we have, our next session is in June. So you'll see the dates here, June 12th, 13th, and 15th. And then we have some dates as well in September and in November, as you'll see. The one thing you'll notice sort of with these dates is that the dates are not 3 days back to back, and we do that on purpose. We found that initially we were offering it 3 days back to back, and any kind of training can be, quite exhausting, sort of from a learning perspective, and particularly, with Zoom fatigue that occurs as well. So we, make it, it's on purpose that there's a gap sort of between day 2 and day 3 sort of this training for that purpose. And people have found that the feedback has been that really is quite effective. That gives them time to really absorb their learning and then really come back. And some people even apply that learning sort of immediately upon going back. So then on that 3rd day, they're able to ask sort of questions and whatnot as we continue their learning. So the second program that we have is the Accelerating Change Through Leadership sort of program. And in this leadership course, it's been proven sort of, worldwide that a key factor for change initiative reasons for success is basically sort of the effectiveness of sponsors and of leadership through change. That really plays a major sort of key critical component of whether change initiatives will fail or whether they'll succeed. So leaders are critical in leading their people, not just through daily operations, but particularly through change initiatives. The people really look to their leaders to ensure that they're competent, the capability to lead through change, but also that they're trustworthy, so that I'm going to follow you through change. So being a leader through change, it's all about sort of creating that culture to really ensure that your people are change ready, that they're adaptable, and that the organization itself is change ready. So in this program, the value and the benefits of key change management concepts will be covered in all the processes to really give the leaders a good foundation around understanding change management. And then we're going to dive deeper into the practical tools and the different approaches for the sponsors and operational leaders, or otherwise known as business owners, and also the leaders of each division in the organization to really support their teams through change. So a lot of it, we focus on clarifying what the leader's role is throughout the change, before, during, and after the change, and how they can perform, really well sort of through that, and it's about really setting the leaders up for success at the end of the day. And like I stated earlier, sort of not all changes are the same, and not all changes come in the form of an official project. It could be sort of minor changes without the need for an official project. But regardless, leadership skills sort of in any of these areas is going to be critical. The other thing we're going to focus on is around strategies to support the change teams and the leaders that are impacted, of the groups that are impacted sort of from this change, to be able to actually realize the adoption and the benefits at the end of the day, and to realize that quicker and easier. So effective change management, the sort of wise tale sort of around it, or the myth is that change management slows initiatives down, but in actuality, studies show it actually speeds up the adoption and the benefits realization at the end of the day. So as for who should, when we talk about leaders, who do we consider leaders? That would be anybody in one of those executive, or, senior level leaders for sponsorship roles of this change initiative, whoever is going to be owning this change initiative after it goes live and maintaining it. Obviously, anyone in the project team itself, steering committees, as well as any leaders in the organization that will be impacted by this particular change. So accelerating change through leadership is a one-day course, and it as well is is a virtual instructor-led group. And this one offers 6.5 PDUs, professional development units, towards your certification, and it's also aligned with the ACNP standard of change management. The upcoming dates for the accelerated change through leadership course, again, we have June, September, and November dates as well for these particular programs. The final thing to really highlight sort of on these programs is, like I stated, both of these courses are hosted sort of through Zoom. And there are 2 certified instructors for each of these courses that will be leading the instruction of it, as well as a facilitator that will basically be leading the technology sort of end of this particular training, and really supporting, they'd be observing sort of the chat and ensuring sort of that we answer questions as we're going through. Both of the instructors are actual practicing change consultants as well. So what you'll find is, we'll be giving real work scenarios, real live examples of, real true scenarios that we've actually lived and worked through ourselves. So the course offers an in-group setting, and we do have different instructional methods as well, because we do recognize that everybody does learn differently. So there are breakout discussions and different activities. There is also a case study that we use as a foundation. So everybody is aligned on one particular example. However, we always encourage you, and it is part of your homework as well on the fundamentals program, to think of a change initiative that was successful and also one that was not successful, so that we can also share and learn from each other's lessons learned on past initiatives as well. We'll also be doing very interactive sort of knowledge checks in both of these programs. And there will be a basic sort of final assessment as well, which will permit you to also then receive your CAN-CRED certification, which will give you that digital badge. So we do try to set up the environment so that it's really relaxing. It's we always joke around and say, think about it as if we're having a discussion in our living room. We're sitting around the kitchen table. So it's a real safe learning environment. And again, we really encourage sort of a lot of peer discussion so that we're learning, from everyone that's participating sort of in this program. And then upon completion of participating, in this course, like I stated, you will receive the electronic badge, and that will show the number of PDUs in which you've acquired from whichever course that you take. And then you'll be able to use that if you're looking for, recertification on any other areas that you're trying to maintain. It will allow you likely some of the PDUs, if not all of them, sort of for other certifications like project management certifications or HR or business analysts. And the course is also going to prepare you sort of to apply your learning immediately, like I stated. So both of the courses really focus on that. and to also support you sort of in your learning. Again, we do have very frequent breaks to ensure that, again, we don't get that Zoom fatigue, which can be quite cumbersome. Now I'm going to pass you now back to David just to finish off the final comments, and then we'll be opening it up for questions.
Thanks very much, Brenda. Yeah, excellent stuff there. Really, we want to focus on, Brenda talked a lot about kind of what would be covered here, and we just want to reinforce, like, after the course, either one of them, you're immediately able to apply what you've learned and leverage those new skills and capabilities to work through changes. The tools or any approaches that you learn, they'll be applicable right away. We don't present complex stuff that's going to be incredibly difficult to implement, and support your role regardless of your role, whether you're new to the working world, whether you're a senior leader, or any role in between. There's something in those courses for either of you to help you understand change, the impacts of it, how you can be a key contributor to success for change in the organization, and essentially working with those stakeholders. So the people side of change that we've talked about is, you know, when you can really help large numbers of people cope with change and actually attack it and feel confident in it and live in the new world after a change, and you've played a key role in it, it's certainly a tremendous feeling. And that's at the individual level and at the team level. So just a few things there that we want to make sure that regardless of your level of experience or your background, the information you gather in these sessions will allow you to take action right away in your roles. And just to wrap up, last slide. So Brenda touched on some of the roles. Oh, there we go. Brenda touched on some of the roles, you know, around our offerings and helping you to effectively plan and execute and sustain the change, which is such a critical part, regardless of your role, helping your organization become change able, helping the people in your organization have less fear, be more accepting, having more positive, and actually have more success with change. Some of the roles we can call out, the idea here was just simply to make everyone feel comfortable, because that's typically what we see in our fundamentals course, is such a wide range. Obviously in our leadership course, it tends to be more frontline or senior leaders looking for ideas and tools and ways of leading that change, but really want you to feel that, or get that understanding that it's not about a specific role that these courses have been generated for. Last thing on closing I want to say is just from a pure career demand perspective, Brenda mentioned about what LinkedIn will say. What we see over and over and over with our clients is they're looking for people who can think and act in an agile way, who are innovative in their thought process, who are getting comfortable with change, especially those entering the workforce or in the early stages, let alone those later in their careers who may need to try some new approaches, because change is coming so fast and furious. And we understand that, and that's what we really try and do in these courses, is provide that expertise and experience of what we've seen over hundreds and hundreds of clients, and help you take that and apply it. Sincere thank you to the McMaster Continuing Education team and to all the participants today. We enjoyed sharing some information with you and hope you found it valuable.
Well, and thank you, David and Brenda. And thanks everyone for joining us today, and for Mariner, David and Brenda, thank you again for this wonderful presentation on change management training. We hope you found this session useful and informative. Please don't hesitate to reach out. We're always available via the Contact Us form or on our chat. And I just want to thank everyone for joining us today. Have a wonderful afternoon, everyone. Thank you kindly.